Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're tackling a really interesting grid traversal problem. It's marked as hard, but don't worry, we'll break it down step by step. The goal is to find the longest V-shaped path, following some very specific rules. Let's get into it. Okay, so the problem gives us a grid of numbers containing only zeros, ones, and twos. Our job is to find the length of the longest valid V-shaped diagonal segment. If no such segment exists, we just return 0. This sounds a bit abstract, so let's define exactly what a V-shape means. First, let's talk about the numbers in the path. Any valid V-shape has to start on a cell that contains the number 1. From there, every next step in the path must follow a strict sequence. The cell after the 1 must be a 2. The cell after that must be a 0, then a 2, then a 0, and so on. If we ever land on a number that breaks this pattern, the path ends right there. Next, let's look at how we move. We can only travel diagonally. Think top left to bottom right, or bottom right to top left, and so on. The V-shape comes from a special rule. We can make at most one turn. This turn has to be a 90-degree clockwise turn into another diagonal direction. So we can go straight for a while, make one turn, and then go straight again. But that's it, only one turn is allowed per path. This diagram from the problem description is perfect for visualizing the turn. If you're moving along any of the 4 diagonal arrows, you can make a single clockwise 90-degree turn to one of the other diagonal directions. For example, if you're going from top left to bottom right, a clockwise turn would change your direction to bottom left to top right. This turn is what creates the V-shape. Okay, let's trace a path in this example. We have to start on a 1, alpha. Let's pick the 1 at row 0, column 2. We can try going down and to the right. The next number needs to be a 2, alpha. Cool, the cell at row 1, column 3 is a 2, alpha. The path continues. The next spot down right should be a 0, alpha, and it is. At row 2, column 4. So far, we have a straight path of length 3, 1, 2, 0. Now from here, we can try making our turn. A clockwise turn would send us up and to the right. The next number in the sequence should be a 2, nafri, and look at that, the cell at row 1, column 5, is a 2. The path is now length 4. Can we continue? The next number should be a 0, but the next cell upright is out of bounds, so this path ends with a length of 4. By trying all starting points and directions, we'd eventually find a path with length 5. So how can we solve this systematically? A brute force approach, trying every single possibility, would be too slow. A much better way is to use a recursive search, often called a depth-first search, or DFS. We'll start a search from every single one in the grid. But here's the key. As we explore, we might end up at the same cell, moving in the same direction, having already made a turn. To avoid redoing all that work, we'll use a cache, which is a technique called memoization. If we've already calculated the longest path from a certain state, we just look up the answer, instead of calculating it again. For our recursive function to work, it needs to keep track of its current state. What information is essential at each step? First, of course, we need our current row and column. Let's call them x and y. Any techi phi cursi my dakovet state. We also need to know which of the 4 diagonal directions we're currently moving in. Critically, we need a way to track if we've already used our 1 allowed turn. We can use a variable, say turn, that's 0 if we haven't turned yet, and 1 if we have. And finally, we need to know what number we expect to find at the next cell, our target. Alright, here's the complete Python code for the solution. It might look a bit dense at first, but let's focus on the structure. The main part at the bottom simply iterates through every cell of the grid. If it finds a 1, it kicks off a search in all 4 initial diagonal directions. The real magic happens inside that nested DFS function, which we'll break down next. Okay, let's zoom in on our recursive helper, the DFS function. That at cache decorator right above it is a super convenient way to handle memoization in Python. It automatically stores the results of function calls with specific arguments. The very first thing we do inside is check our base case. If we've gone off the grid, or if the number at our current spot is not the target number we're looking for, then this path is invalid. We return 0, effectively ending this branch of the search. Now for the core logic. First we explore option 1, just keep going straight. We find the next coordinates, which we can call nx and ny, and we recursively call DFS for that next spot. We add 1 to whatever that call returns, to count our current valid cell. Notice the target flips between 2 and 0. The expression 2 minus target handles that perfectly. Next we check if we're allowed to turn. If the turn variable is 0, it means we haven't used our turn yet. So we calculate the new direction for a clockwise turn, and find the next coordinates for that turned path. We make another recursive call, but this time we pass 1 for the turn parameter to signal that the turn has been used. Finally, we take the maximum length found between the straight path and the turned path. So what about performance? The time complexity is big O of m times n, where m and n are the height and width of the grid. You might think recursion is slow, but because of our cache, the DFS function only computes its result once, for any unique combination of x, y, direction, and turn. The number of possible states is proportional to the number of cells, so we get m times n, zen. For the same reason, the space complexity is also big O of m times n, because that's the maximum number of results our cache might need to store. Let's wrap up with the key takeaways. This problem is a great example of how you can tackle a complex pathfinding challenge with a recursive depth-first search. The most important lesson here is the power of memoization. Without it, the solution would be too slow. The secret was to figure out exactly what information we needed to define the state at any point in the path, our position, direction, and turn status. Once we had that, we could build a cache and solve the problem efficiently. I hope that breakdown made sense. If you found this helpful, please give it a like, and maybe subscribe for more explanations like this. If you have any questions or a different way to solve it, drop a comment below. And hey, if you're feeling extra generous, there's always the Boba Fund. Thanks for watching, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next one.